Tabletopped will start after the following messages.
Hey everyone, it's your humble host Nick, and today we are not doing a new episode because this week I'm getting married. I know, so insane, which means I didn't have a whole lot of time to get an episode together for all of you. Don't worry though, in 2 weeks we'll have a fresh episode, and today we have one of our old classics talking about why people should run horror games. All right, enjoy, and I hope everyone has a happy Halloween. Goodbye.
At last, I have reached the tallest peak in all the world, where the wisest person lives. Finally, I'll get the answers I seek.
Welcome. I am the wisest person in the world. Ask me your question.
What is my purpose in life? What should I be doing to achieve pure happiness?
You must stream Game Master Monday.
Come again.
Game Master Monday, the bi-weekly podcast that plays a new one-shot in a new system in a new setting with a new cast every episode. Listening to their funny jokes and wild stories is the only path to happiness, my child.
Sick. I'm going to go home and binge the whole thing right now.
What a nice kid. Oh dear, he fell off the mountain. Now they'll never know how good Game Master Monday is.
Welcome back, everyone, to the spooky month of October, and also welcome back to Tabletopped! I'm Nick, your host, and I'm joined by two of the best in the biz. Who's at the table with me today?
Coming up, resurrected from the slab on the table. Coming up, Franco Stein. What? What's funny?
I just love that the monster reference also had to be a table reference.
Yeah.
A slab on the table.
Oh, well, yeah. It's the slab / table.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And I'm raising up Franco Stein.
What about
Sponster.
Sponster.
It's monsters.
Bringing spooky wine to your table, floating through the air because I'm a ghost. It's Shade.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's pretty vanilla.
I thought that you were going to be like the ghost of the
Pretty
grapes.
vanilla is what's going to want to be on my. Actually, I probably won't have a grave, but on my tombstone if I were to have.
Pretty vanilla.
Pretty vanilla. That guy. He was pretty vanilla.
It's a really handsome vanilla.
Do you ever worry that? Do you ever worry that someone will be walking through a grave site and be like, "Pretty vanilla? What a weird name." like is that like a? And who is Shade? What is Shade? Yeah. So today
Pretty shades of vanilla.
Pretty shades of vanilla. Oh man, new business.
That's a rom-com.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that.
Today we are going to be talking about what is the point of a horror game anyway. A lot of people are going to be talking and trying to work towards making a one-shot this year, and we kind of wanted to start the month by talking about how and what you're trying to do as a GM in these sort of like spooky games.
Yeah, please don't think we're stupid or something. It's just like I think it's like a real question.
Yeah. I mean, they think they know that we're stupid from a lot of these episodes. So
There's plenty of evidence.
that's fine. But
I guess there's a lot of evidence.
I think it is worth
There should be
talking
like a
about.
bunch of smash cuts or something.
Yeah, just to all of the past things where we say something stupid.
Oh yeah, lacrosse Jesus, blah blah blah.
That's also what I was thinking about. I'm so glad that we're all just focusing on that episode.
But one thing that you said off mic that I thought was really interesting was
I don't exist off mic.
you don't exist off mic. I forgot. You're full Frankenstein monster when you're not on mic. But one thing you were saying in my dream, I guess, was that you were saying how as a GM we're trying, like, what are we trying to do in these games, specifically like a spooky one shot or something for Halloween. Like a common answer is we're trying to scare our players, have a like fun spooky time. However, you said something that I thought was really poignant and smart, which is that there's like pretty good line between horror and scaring your players and just like making them sad or anxious or stressed or something like that.
Yeah, because like I think we all know from, I don't know, our screenwriting classes and creative writing classes, right? We were all artists here.
Yeah.
Shane, have you ever taken any like art classes?
Remember, your art can be anything.
I'm just curious. Curious
that's
if
a
you
good
have
que-
like
good
formal
question.
education in it, because I know you do.
As in like
You are creative.
And before, I didn't take any art classes really in college. I took art history courses, and literature courses, but nothing with the intent to create. I just did that in free time. In high school, yeah, absolutely. I did so much fucking art in high school and undergrad in elementary school and shit. Yeah.
You know, under.
Shade actually has a lot of degrees from various middle and high schools.
Yeah, they're all invisible.
They're all on my wall. Yeah, just like yeah, because he's a ghost.
It's the wall from Garden State, the therapist that has just like the full wall.
That's the best joke.
It is. Yeah, it's the only good joke in Garden State.
The joke is so you guys don't have to watch the movie. There's a bunch of diplomas on this doctor's wall, and there's like a shit ton of them. But then there's like one that is just on the ceiling.
Because the wall is so full.
It's so full that there has to be one on the ceiling. And so that elicits a laugh, right? Because it's amusing.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make people laugh using art.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make people scared. It's really easy to make people sad, though. I don't know why. I'm sure there's like a rule about it or whatever. But I don't care about that right now. Unless you know, Nick, and you're
Well, for me, because both sadness and laughter, and I would say that actually of the things we're talking about, making someone laugh is easier than some of the other things that we're going to be talking about. Because I would put laughter and sadness in the same category, which is essentially you are triggering a unexpected response in somebody. That's like what a joke is you set something up, your audience thinks that it's going to end a certain way, and then you do a left turn, which is the punchline.
Yeah.
That kind of elicits this involuntary reaction.
But making somebody sad in a story, you just have to make something sad.
Yeah.
There's no like twist or whatever. I guess the twist is just, actually, this is sad all along.
Yeah. You're right. This is sad. Yeah. But like to what you were saying, like making somebody have a more voluntary instinctual response, like, you know, having a romantic feeling or having a feeling of dread or fear or like scares, like that kind of stuff is so much harder because there's also, and we've talked about it a billion times, but the difference between the player and the character. Yeah. Like it's very easy to make a situation where a character is scared. It is harder to make a player feel that kind of creeping sense of dread.
And I think part of my question too is like, do we even need to make the player scared? I think it could be helpful.
Great question. Shade?
I mean, it kind of depends on your overall game and overall goals. So when we're playing 10 Candles, I want you, the player, to be a little bit scared. It's a dark room.
Scared the shit out of me when you smacked the table.
Can I say something? Shade says like, you want to scare your people. What that means is Shade wants to punch a sheet pan very loudly to scare the shit out of all of us.
There's like he did like a
little Foley work, okay?
There was 10 Candles is a game where you turn off all the lights and the only source of light is 10 candles, and then you roll some dice sometimes, and it's a really spooky time. And then sometimes Shade smacks his sheep pan
or a table or something.
Or you just like, I remember at some point you like yelped or something too.
Yeah.
Like, great audio.
But it's like it does bring up sort of the idea of, is that even the point? You know, is the point to scare the players? Is it like, how do we kind of approach these? Because to provide another counter example against the like making someone scared, is that a lot of Halloween one-shots are set up to be uber silly.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think that's the other side of horror, really.
Is the ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can't believe we're being chased by a
doll.
mask. Yeah, like a little stupid-ass doll.
You soccer kick the doll away and you're like,
and the doll comes back and it's like, I'm fine. It's like, oh no, it didn't work.
Yeah. But again, I think it depends on your game and your goals in general. Setting environment, no matter the game, is very important. And if we're playing the power fantasy that is D&D, 5e and beyond. And then, you know, I want to set tone. And I think the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and the Curse of Strahd books, for example, did a really great job explaining how to set that tone. And it can make it feel much more immersive. You may not be scared as a player. How did they do it? Yeah. So they had entire sections dedicated to what the realm of Ravenloft is like and what you need to be doing. Maybe some small rule changes, like you can't simply teleport out of this realm. You will find that spells, when you use them, if you do, for example, Mage Hand, it's not just going to be the nice glowy hand that maybe they're used to. Instead, it's a skeletal hand. You know, it's just small little things like that, but also talking a little bit about the constant gloom in the air, the sounds of shrieks off in the distance, and just kind of doing some of that scene setting.
Do you think so? I remember me and Shade played in a Barovia campaign with Rio as the GM. Rio isn't here, by the way.
Yeah, he's haunting another house.
He's haunting a different house right now. He ran the Barovia game for us, and I feel like the only part that was scary was really early in the game when I died.
Yep.
Like my character died. And then after that, we were all like, uh-oh. And then Sean's character died. And they were like, uh-oh. Yeah. And then after that, nobody ever died again. But I mean, I think part of that fear was... I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know if any of the situations in Barovia outside of Death House were actually scary.
And this goes back to the kind of top question of the thing. Because part of it too could just be vibes, but in a way of like, so a lot of these things are like choose your own adventure books. Are you getting the feeling of like, I want to see how I would react to these situations?
Yeah, like the werewolves at camp.
Yeah, exactly. And so part of it is like, maybe you don't have to make the player scared, but you have to get them sort of like into the idea or mindset of the tense of like stakes are high. How am I going to try to get this character through this alive or whatever? And that can also be like, that is also a very fun mindset if you want to play that way. So what do you guys think? Because like you said, especially as you go up in levels, it becomes harder to have like real consequences of death, specifically a character death. So what do you do once you've kind of passed through that section? You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like, you know, again, it's a power fantasy game, 5e D&D, whatever we're calling it now, just D&D. It is hard to achieve that. And for me, as a player, I was never scared during our Ravenloft game. I mean, you know, no, there's
like tense moments.
Yeah, there are some tense moments. But we're around the table that we've been playing at for years in your house, and it's a very comforting place. Sure. And you know, I'm not scared. But I have the knowledge of what Ravenloft is. I am putting that into because I think that like it's kind of that session 0 thing almost, where the conversation is set of like, hey, this is supposed to be a bad place for everyone. You as a player probably shouldn't be coming into this and going, okay, cool. Well, I'm not afraid of anything, so I'm just going to, you know, march my way through Ravenloft and it's going to be fine. No, you really, it's an invitation for them to lean into that. And so when we were playing that, I kind of kept myself centered in that of like, okay, this is what Ravenloft is about. This is how I'm going to feel about things. And it made me a much more cautious player in a way that I necessarily wouldn't have been, as well as a much more reckless player. I mean, with that character, threaten people. I wouldn't normally. Intimidation is one of my least favorite things to do in as a skill check. I utilized a wish coin that I would have loved to have, because Rio was very kind to give us each one wish, essentially, one use of the wish spell that I would not have otherwise utilized, because we were faced with a a whole den of werewolves. And I said, fucking hell no, I'm not gonna go through that. That's terrifying. Here is poison cloud on all of you. And we sidestepped that challenge a bit. But, those are things that I wouldn't think that I would do with that particular character normally. But I did it because it was in a high tense.
I like this idea of that the point of the like genre is more as a touchstone for shared storytelling. Yeah. So it's like a place that all the players can anchor off of to say like, I know what a horror film is. I know what a horror story is. I know the general vibes of this genre, and I can now play to it. Yeah. So I think that, or I can play against it, going back to the silly stuff. So I think that also makes a lot of sense of me as using it as like a shared understanding tool. And that goes back to like Halloween one-shots. Every Halloween one-shot I've ever played with you guys, we've sat down and be like, okay, this is a one-shot. It's out of canon or whatever, but like this is what's happening. And then you kind of get involved, but everyone then sort of...
Ever played a Halloween one-shot with you guys?
Yes, you have, actually, in Lakewood, the trick-or-treaters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was very silly.
Yeah, it got very silly. It was Furbies that were actually real.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, so... Why don't we take a quick break, and then afterwards we can really dive into Halloween one-shots and how you can like set the best sort of vibe possible.
Greetings, adventurers. I'm Max, and I compose background music and themes for tabletop games. Whether you're delving into Dungeons & Dragons, unraveling mysteries in Call of Cthulhu, or battling in Warhammer 40k, let my music set the perfect tone for your games. As a fellow tabletop enthusiast, I create tracks that resonate with your game's diverse realms, available on all major streaming services. Plus, I also offer custom commissions to tailor the perfect soundtrack for your unique campaigns. Ready for immersive gaming sessions across all genres? Visit Coltrane Compositions on Patreon for access to over 150 songs, including looped versions, that will make your game unforgettable. That's Coltrin Compositions.
Hello everyone and welcome to 5 Gems in a Trench Coat.
Excuse me?
Yeah?
What's that?
You want to know what 5 Gems in a Trench Coat is? Let us tell you.
It's the adhesive that keeps the fragile pieces of my sanity together.
Well, okay, Jesse, what it actually is a narrative-driven TTRPG actual play where 5 friends take turns weaving stories through the tabletop game of their choice.
Of their choice?
Each season?
Each season.
That's pretty cool.
I disagree.
Oh.
I feel it's the adhesive.
So, like, you guys aren't all in a trench coat?
No, we're definitely in a trench coat.
How does that work?
Get her.
Before I'm caught, you can check out 5 Gems in a Trench Coat just about anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can check out our website at 5gemsinatrenchcoat.com. Oh my god, they really are all in a trench coat.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are talking about what is horror anyway? What is it? Okay. And I'm here with the best, Franco and Shade, and we're talking before the break about sort of.
But not with all of the best.
That's correct. Not with all of the best.
Just
two.
With us.
Just some of
just
the
two
best.
of the best. Not Rio, but Rio is also the best.
Gone but not forgotten.
Yeah. He is trapped in some sort of ethereal dungeon right now, and
called San Francisco.
But yeah, so now let's talk a little bit more focused about a one shot. So if you were a GM, how are you using horror tropes? How are you using the power of the narration? How are you using all of this stuff to really make sure that it's as fun as possible? You know, that you go through a whole year. A lot of people look forward to holiday one shots, at least in our group we do, because it's always kind of like the...
Can't remember the last time I did it, aside from the one that you just reminded me of.
Well, I should say I always do, because I think that it's a fun way. Like Devotchka House we talk about forever. We've talked about... Yeah, that's true. We've talked about one. I think one that I did, it wasn't a Halloween one shot, but it was Shia the Buff, the serial killer in that weird town.
Also didn't play that one.
Yeah, I know this is before your time, but
wow, you guys are just having Halloween one shots.
Maybe that was the difference. No, just kidding. Maybe that was why it was so fun.
Wow,
I feel. Have we done a Waterdeep?
No, not really. A lot of times the holidays. Just don't really coincide with where we're at in the story.
Because we're like 3 days into our story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't we talk a little bit about how as GMs we would try to go about making a really great atmosphere for a one-shot for both the players, but also for the GM to have the most amount of fun. How do you guys approach that?
I think I have run a one-shot. I guess it was a one-shot, but it was for a module. It was a pamphlet module for Mothership called The Haunting of Ipsilon 14, I think is what it's called. And it's real scary. It's got like alien vibes, right? Like you are on this like mining asteroid and something is picking people off one by one. Yeah. And I think part of the fear in that was just that this system, I was using like a hacked system of basically of Into the Odd, which is like rules light, very lethal because you have low HP and it's kind of easy to, just fucking get killed. Yeah. And then, just like limited things. Like you're just dudes who have like, maybe you have like a pistol or something like that. Yeah. And then you're up against some kind of like entity. I think it's like I think we've talked about this before, where it's like you're constrained, you are trapped somewhere, you are like there's agency being taken away from you, and there's like a powerlessness as well, but you have to somehow overcome that. Yeah, like like the premise of 10 Candles is set on the fact that you are going to die at the end of the game. Something like Monster of the Week, you have 4 hit points before you start bleeding out, and then 3 hit points later, you're completely dead.
I think that this also might be the difference between the silly ones and the tense ones, or the horror
is the
vibes.
system.
No, is the level of agency that you want your players to have. Yeah. Because if you and by agency, I'm not talking about like open world or free choice versus not or something. It's more like a design technique, like in the original BioShock, in the first like 3 levels of that game, it is way more tense than later points in it because you are scrounging for every bullet. You have guns that aren't really great. They're not upgraded. You have all this stuff. You have very low agency in being able to like go toe to toe with the threats. Yeah. And
man, Alan Wake 2, holy shit. Yeah. Like I'm just like, I'm going to keep dying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that. And I forget what it was called, but that weird pig game where it was like Amnesia. That's what it was. The monsters kind of look like
forgot
pig
about that.
men
Yeah.
or whatever.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, but the whole point of that is like if they see you or whatever and start chasing you, they're faster than your character is. Nice. They are stronger, and they automatically kill you when they get to you.
Yeah. Cool.
They just like basically rip you apart. And so your whole thing is that you have to hide. Yeah. And finding that hiding place in time is where the anxiety and tenseness comes in.
There's something that people have said about Mothership that is interesting. There is no stealth mechanic in Mothership. There's no like, it's not codified in the rules, and it's basically because like that's the point of the game. It's a horror game. Yeah. And so like it's like the creator sort of took out this part of the game that is mechanical and can make it like more, sort of like, I can just roll my way out of this, versus it being like, okay, how do you role play your way out of this? Like, how do you?
Like, it's more cinematic almost.
Yeah, in a way. You have to be like mindful of where you are. You have to be like cognizant of like what the space is, and then like aware of where the monster is and aware of your limitations. And so you have to be. It's like it's the conversation, right?
Yeah, I love that as a design technique for this type of game specifically, because it forces the player to be less mechanically thinking and more in-game.
Because like once you start thinking about it as a game, does it become less tense? And then when you take away mechanics, you are just using your conversation, and so does that make it more like you're like negotiating your way out of a situation?
Right. Yeah, my thought here too is that the sort of, it's almost where the dice roll is placed, because if you place the dice roll at the beginning of the situation, like in D&D or whatever, where you're rolling a stealth check, it actually, like you said, mechanicalizes that section of the game, and so it kind of lets the player have distance from being inside their character. Right. Whereas if you are negotiating your way cinematically, or like you said, in a conversation through this, and then you hit a moment where you're like, I don't have
This
any
is
more,
uncertain.
I don't have any more agency here. I have to roll. I don't have any more agency here. Then for me, that both lines up the character and player thing there. So you're like, oh shit, like I am trying my best to do this, and that is represented by me rolling this die, and I'm going to do it the best I can, but who knows what the fuck's going to happen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's so. Out of curiosity, what does happen if, like, what would happen if the monster, the entity in Mothership sees you? What happens there?
So in Mothership, it is like a like a blow for blow. Like in combat is mechanized,
Right.
So it finds you, you fight. Monsters are usually better at you than fighting.
Yeah.
Better than you at fighting. You would just like slug it out, or you would, try to run for safety or something like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think like it's not sort of like you were saying with the pig men or whatever, that it's like they see you and they kill you.
Right.
It's more like they see you, you have your confrontation, and more likely than not, you might lose unless you try to be clever about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never played Mothership. I have heard some criticisms of like how it's sort of structured, how the dice roll, how the dice rolls work. But I think that this sort of like rules elision thing is like common thing that's talked about in the OSR blogosphere.
Yeah, I think that honestly that reminds me.
And sorry, by that I mean like taking away rules from something that you
taking the mechanic
stuff out. Like the thing that Brennan Lee Mulligan said about D&D, it's just like he likes D&D because it doesn't mechanize like social interactions. It only mechanizes like the combat, and like the combat doesn't care about if I want to role play everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think that in certain games like Powered by the Apocalypse, the thing that I like about that a lot is that it puts the power onto the GM for calling for rolls, so you can mechanize it in the right place in the story if you want.
Sure.
So like maybe you're investigating in Monster of the Week and you're looking around. The like way rules is written is that I could say like, okay, roll an investigation check or something. But when it comes to monsters and everything, you could be like running and you're like, I fire over my shoulder, like bang, bang, bang. And as a GM, I could be like, he's actually running away. So that is a act under pressure where you are just trying to distract the monster. And so by calling for that kind of stuff, you are allowing the players to stay in their character mindset for longer.
In Monster of the Week, like it's not like every time you attack, you roll a certain thing. It's like you say what you're going to do, and then the GM tells you what that means.
Yeah.
Because like that's what you just said. But I just think like that is interesting about that system. I think another thing that I know about like Monster of the Week, it might have been the creator of Apocalypse World that said something about like how, or maybe I saw it on Reddit. I don't remember. But basically like every time you roll, something should happen to progress. Like if you're in a cage and you're trying to escape it and you fail to roll,
the guard should come in and be like, "What's the big idea?"
Yeah, it shouldn't be
take you out of the
Yeah, exactly, something like that. It's not like, oh, I failed the roll, and so you just don't pick the lock to get out of the cage. Yeah. It's like you fail the roll,
the cage starts being dragged into another room.
Yeah, or like you do unlock it, and then everyone sees you, and you're on high alert, and you have failed in a way.
Yeah,
it's like the progressing the story, and I think that continues to build the stakes and build the tension, and I think like in a horror game, that's really important. And I don't know, what do you guys think about like, how do you make that, like we've kind of talked about like the tension part, and I think we can achieve that in a lot of ways in the system and stuff, but like, how do you do that and, make it a horror thing?
Yeah.
I think this, but make it horror.
I'm right now. I'm sort of thinking about The Descent. It's a horrible movie. So scary.
I love that movie.
I mean, horrible
so
in that.
Scary.
I literally was in a dorm room when I saw it for the first time, and someone screamed so loud that I was like, my ear was ringing for a while.
In the movie?
Yeah, in The Descent. Yeah. In
the
room. In the room while we're watching.
Oh my
God. But the thing about that movie that I think is interesting, kind of that goes against what you just said around like always progressing forward. Like horror might be the only time that it is acceptable to throw a immovable object in front of somebody when they have succeeded up to that point. because a lot like the trope is, she's like in this movie, she's down in this cave system. She finds these monsters. Her and her friends all start dying, and then she makes her way back up and out. But then she the police or whatever that are there, and she runs over to them. They start talking to her, but when they open their mouths, it's just screaming. And then she wakes up and she's back in the cave, and she's hearing all of her friends like being killed around her. And so in that way, that is very much a GM saying, nope, back to this other place that's worse. I don't know whether or not that would work in a game, but it's something that's interesting.
Like taking away agency, taking away your wins.
Yeah, it's sort of like, or letting them have it and then feeling the despair of like, that wasn't a win.
I think it's like a yes, but.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's really the difference between like playing a game and then like reading a story or watching a movie or whatever. Yeah. Right. It's like, do you have to allow some form of agency? But I think like, I don't know, like introducing like small failures, like small losses along the way to the big question of whether you ultimately succeed or don't.
Yeah, and I also think it kind of depends on what your goal is. Yeah. Like, if it's a mystery one-shot for your Halloween thing, then they should be building towards, like, this big resolution or whatever. Right. It's all genre tropes that you're working with. However, I think that when you are doing stuff with horror, in sketch writing, there's... like comedy sketch writing, there's something called heightening, where you just keep making things crazier and crazier and crazier, and then at the end you say, and then what would have to come out of this, and that's how you end a sketch. With horror, I think it's kind of similar, where you're heightening, and then the release valve is usually like the reveal of the monster or like a confrontation with the monster in some way. Yeah. And then a success or fail condition at the end of that. Do you feel like that is like the way that you guys would approach if you were trying to make like a scary one shot?
Yeah. I mean, I think, in many respects, when I think of horror, there is only one ultimate release. And that
the sweet release of death.
That's correct. The sweet release of death. I mean, that's where a lot of horror is eventually going to go. It's either your death or the hero's death or the monster's death. One of the two. More likely it's going to be the monsters, because that's what our storytelling often is. But heightening, and I think depending on if this is a one-shot where it's not going to impact a larger story you're telling, you can kind of mess with that release a little bit. I think I like the idea of the reveal being
your apex.
The apex. That's kind of an interesting, like, not just the apex, but the cut to black, because the reveal is so terrible, so horrifying. There's no real question of what's going to come next, but there's a more, and it kind of similar to like when you unmask the monster, it kind of loses a lot of its power in movies and things like that. I would say there's also, while there's no question of what the certainty of what happens next, you are dead, you're whatever, not saying that and just letting it kind of rest. It's kind of interesting. I maybe I'm wrong, but I think we did that kind of with your character, Nick, in the original 10 Candles that we run, where you were rowing and you rowed to a lighthouse where you found someone singing, and we just kind of left you there. And
that's fun.
It was essentially like me. I think the last thing I did was like I fired my like shotgun a bunch of times, and then like the final thing when I finally failed was like, and then all that was heard was singing, and it was like sort of like what happened there, we don't know.
I mean, we do know because it's death. I mean, that's the way the game works, but it's almost kind of a more poignant and then and a fun thing, a bit of a spoiler for 10 Candles. So if you are thinking you might be a player and you don't want to read the game master rules for it, but You do these recordings at the beginning, and that's the true ending. And I think that that's such an effective thing as well.
Yeah, because you are setting up a group of people that are hopeful in some way. They all like have the assumption that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's the contrast that really drives home the thing.
And so for me, that was a really because the one that you played, Franco, unfortunately was mired with a lot of other stuff that we had going on. It was so it was an impure version of the game. With the original that I played with Nick, I think it was about as pure as you could get, and it was really poignant to me to end it on that climax, and then also bring it back in with that loop. But heightening is, I think, very important in horror, and you just need to decide where to end.
Yeah. Where to end, I think, is a huge decision to make. I think that as well, you can kind of make the mechanical solution the point as well. Like if you're trying to make your players like scared, it's supposed to be a spooky evening. That's why everyone's there. Then I would agree that that's the way to go. I think that if people are going there to, like you said before, Franco, sort of vibes, but you have a group that are puzzle solvers or something, then maybe make it something that they have to outsmart, and they slowly go through this thing, and then they get and they feel like geniuses at the end. They escape this horrible thing that no one's ever escaped before, and that can feel really good as well. It's a different game, but still feels great. Then there's the silly ones that I think that is the exact same thing as the heightening stuff, where you are just allowing them to kind of turn the genre on its head and make a bunch of jokes and heighten, and then you end it there as well.
Strahd must die tonight.
Yeah, exactly. It's the difference between those, just Ravenloft and Strahd must die.
Yeah.
I think that there's like so much in there, but what kind of practical advice would you give for someone who is thinking about doing this kind of thing and they want to make a very specific experience for their players?
I mean, I think if you're not typically doing a horror thing like as the regular, and this is a one time, it's specifically for this wonderful spooky month of October, setting the night and saying, hey guys, I know you probably had a hard week at work and you want to let off some steam. We're going to hang for a bit, but we're going to be doing a very serious, terrifying kind of night. Like setting, just verbalizing that expectation. Always very good.
Yeah.
We played recently an entirely not spooky, scary game of Honey Heist. So I set that expectation that, of course, it's a very serious and somber game, and that really helped us make sure that we were really serious and somber the whole time.
Yeah, the bears were very focused.
Yeah. I think one thing that I would recommend, because I don't like to do, I don't want to call it railroading,
but like story driven maybe,
or the type of shit you guys like, where it's like, oh yeah, it's got to be this thing and then this thing and this. I think a good way to.
I don't know what you mean.
I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's a one shot, so everything has to, like the WotC school of like railroading the fuck out of every adventure that's ever been written. But I think a good way is to use like a countdown timer, where it's like, oh, okay, like it's a site-based adventure, so you're exploring like an area, or even if you want to get like a kids on bikes thing, you're just exploring a neighborhood or whatever. It doesn't have to be like a dungeon. You do that, and then you just like have a countdown. You just like, oh yeah, this happens, this is progressing, and then you want to be. Then the thing can happen when it needs to happen, because it's all ticking down.
Yeah, I think,
and the players should be aware of
what that means.
Yeah, the players should be aware of like, okay, when this stack of poker chips goes all the way down, like that is a
fail state kind of thing.
That is when that happens, like this is gonna happen, or you see signs of like this stuff happening, like reality's crumbling apart, or the shadows get longer or deeper or whatever. And
I like a mechanic like that the longer somebody is in the area, the worse things get. Like, so we have a thing called Ico Nights where we play once a month. One of the things that I've pitched, it's not a huge spoiler. It's a mechanic that you would all learn very quickly anyway. But it's like you're on this starship. It's very alien-esque as well. You wake up and it's like an empty starship. What's going on? The mechanic that I was bringing in is I have this board game that is like basically a building ship sort of thing where you place tiles down and it has different rooms and you can walk around, all that kind of stuff. So I was going to use that as like the map of locations where you go. But one of the mechanics in the game that I want to bring in was when you move through a room, you can either move slowly through a room, which takes like basically 2 actions in the game to get through, or you can just basically run through the room, which means you can get through 2 rooms in a turn. I wanted to take that kind of idea and bring it into the TTRPG realm by saying like, if you run through this room, you'll be able to do it. However, in both times when you do that, you add noise that you are generating to the room. And if enough noise is generated, then you attract things to
that's a really typical way to run dungeon exploration in the OSR.
Exactly, because then eventually you get to a place where you look at the board and there's noise chips everywhere.
Oh, cool.
And that means like even if I walk slowly through some of these rooms, I might generate enough noise that something comes looking for me. So I love something that makes the board more scary just from the time you've spent there. So it's the same thing with the poker chips where you're taking them out based on how time they're spending. So if they're being super cautious going through this house or whatever, maybe when all the poker chips go, the house disappears because it's only there one day a year and everyone inside disappears with it and you don't know where they go. Like it can be that. So it's, tense. So you get down to your final 3 poker chips and maybe that is only one more turn and you're like, how do we get the hell out of this house?
I mean, limited resources, which of course clocks are always the best limited resource, are a terrific way, and a visual element of it is perfect for any kind of horror game. I really like the idea of just kind of outlining you have this many very clearly to everyone. There should never be any question.
I would also say for this type of game, I would, even if unless you're doing a super silly one, and Shade, you can talk about maybe why that is impossible to do during a silly one, because I think you experienced this yesterday. But I would say to everyone like, hey, everyone, this one's going to be a little different. It's going to require a lot of tone setting. So get ready. I have, when I'm like explaining or describing stuff, I would love to be able to get through to the end of my descriptions before people like speak up, essentially. Because as in a horror environment specifically, you want to be able to set the scene very specifically. So like making like a table rule that's like,
shut the fuck up when I'm talking.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, 10 Candles, again, another great game that we'll just continuously talk about, I'm sure, anytime we talk about horror. That's very much part and parcel to it. Yeah. We're not table talking. It is I talk as the Candlemaster. I don't remember what they call it.
Candlemaster, I love it. The Wax Man.
Yeah, that's good. I was going to say something
like
Wax Man.
What did you say?
I think they do call it the Keeper, honestly.
Yeah.
There's got to be a... how do you say
chandler.
Is a chandler? Okay.
Yeah, a chandler.
What about
could I be any more of a game master?
What is it called when you keep a lighthouse? I know it's like lighthouse keeper, but is there like one word description for like the person who keeps the
lighthouse keeper? One word.
Yeah, no, I think it was just lighthouse keeper.
Because I think that would be a good, because like the whole thing is about keeping the light alive until it's not. So like having I think that would be a great idea.
The lantern. The lantern is dying. Must feed it with the wood or whatever.
Over the garden wall.
Over the garden wall reference. Thank you.
Watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, please do.
So good.
But yeah, I think just having that rule of I'm going to speak, you're going to speak, no one else
when
talk
I speak,
right now.
I speak. Yeah, just like that.
Yeah. So I hope that was helpful for all of you thinking about making your own holiday one-shot. However, if it wasn't enough, we are spending this entire month talking through different aspects of this so that you can make the best out of this Halloween's one-shot for your group. So next week, we are going to be talking about...
And then maybe we'll make one or whatever.
Yeah, we're good. So next week we're going to be talking about fairy tale horror, and then, like you said, Franco, after that we will be making a one shot, and hopefully we'll be able to drop that into our Patreon and Discord feeds and stuff like that for people who want to play that specific one. But we are also at the end of the month just going full silly, and we're going to review the system Honey Heist. Is going to be a very fun one, so we'll talk about it then, and we will see you all next Monday for another episode of Tabletopped. Goodbye.
Farewell.
Bye.